All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Ruach Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops and the elders of the great millstone, and peace and blessings to the hopeful elect out of toiling in this truth. I'm Pathaka Math GMS Dallas. Just coming back at you with a really quick hit lesson, and I'm going to entitle this one, Esau's Kingdom is Done, and he's about to go into captivity. And that's just what it is, man. This kingdom is over, it's through, you know what I'm saying? And it's time for captivity now, man. You know what I'm saying? And, you got these naysayers and these scoffers out here and people that don't want to hear that. But it is what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Lord did, bro. In this story, this movie that we're in, it happened to us. You know what I'm saying? It happened to us, man. The earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. Job 9:24. There was a blessing going back to Genesis, the 27th chapter, where he was going to have the fatness of the earth and the dew from heaven, and he was going to rule by his sword, man. Job 9:24. The earth has been given into his hand, into the hand of the wicked, and he's ruling right now. And when there's a ruling class, there's always an underclass. You have those on top and those on the bottom, man. Because this story is primarily dealing with the nation of Esau, the so-called self-proclaimed white man, woman, and child, and the nation of Israel, which they're Edom, and the nation of Israel, which consists of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You know what I'm saying? And they're the two main characters in this movie that we're in. And when one of them is on top, the other is on the bottom. It's just how it is. Don't you? When you read in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, it says that the nation of Israel, well, it says the nation of Edom was going to be the head, and the nation of Israel was going to be the tail, man. The head is the top, the tail is the bottom, man. You know what I'm saying? So real quick, when you read in not Genesis, Salaki, in Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter. Wow, it goes to 2 Peter. Really? I was clearly in the Old Testament. Boy, you can clearly see the left hand Satan, man. Ephesians, the 6th chapter at work, man. This is Deuteronomy 30. Let me take the parallel off, Salakia. Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter and verse 1. It says, "And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse." So the Lord set it up to go through both, bro. You know what I'm saying? Right now, Esau has been in his blessing. The kingdom, he's in his kingdom. He's in his heaven. It's set up like that. When you read Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter goes into verse 1 through 14 is basically heaven, your kingdom. And when you read 15 through 68, it's hell. That's your heaven and hell right there in Deuteronomy 28, the 28th chapter. You know what I'm saying? And 15 through 68 is hell, captivity. All those things are within the 15 through 68 verses, man. You know what I'm saying? So it says, and it was set up to do both, and right now Esau is in his blessing. He's in 1 through 14. Everything has worked for this devil. He's had it good. America was made great at one point. It became great. They reached the pinnacle of that. And now it's time to go down, man. So the other side of it, it's time for the other side of it. It says, and it shall cut, Deuteronomy 31, and it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, both. Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14, 15 through 68, man. That's the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord Yahweh Shai Shai, thy power hath driven thee. So it was always set up to go through both, man. You know what I'm saying? So Esau's in his kingdom. We're at the end of that, pursuing to, as a matter of fact, real quick, let's go to 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, and we're going to get to the point in verse 9. The 2nd Esdras 6 and 9, it says, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." There's another world coming. So Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So Esau is at the end, Jacob is at the beginning. The end of Esau's world or age, that ion, that time period, that rulership is at its end, and now the beginning of it that followeth, which is the kingdom of heaven. Jacob, the Israelites, our big brother Yahweh Shai, his rulership on earth is at hand, man. You know what I'm saying? So Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So we're at the end of this devil's rulership. His time period is Ion, his world. As a matter of fact, what is that? Matthew, real quick. Matthew, the 13th chapter, and verse 40. Let me find this real quick, Salakia. 40, there it is. Matthew 13 and 40. Red letters, Yahweh Shai is speaking. It says, as therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. This world. And that world there is Ion, man. You know? So yeah, this world. This world is at its end, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's the time period we're in. So let's go back real quick to Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter, because we're going to drop down now to verse 7, and this is just what it is. This Deuteronomy 30 and 7. It says, and Yahweh Bashem Yahushai thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And then within the curses is slavery, captivity. So let's get that real quick. Deuteronomy 28. And when you read in verse 15 through 68, is in the heading, it said consequences of disobedience, which of course we already know Esau is disobedient. He was made the wicked. He was created that way. He was made adverse, contrary to the ways of the Lord. So that's automatically, he fits into disobedience. So here are the consequences. He's going to fall right into this. So when you read down, let's jump down now to verse 68 and get into that captivity, because that's what's coming. That's part of the curses, which we're reading right now. It says, as a matter of fact, let's read 15 real quick. Let's read verse 15 and get some context. This is Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15. It says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, thy power to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, which Esau does not do. He's adverse, he's contrary, he can't. That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So he was in a trick bag from day one, from the beginning, from inception. He was in a trick bag. You know what I'm saying? So the Lord gave him all this stuff, you know, just to punish his people, to only have this all come back on him, man. The Lord did, man. This story is a beautiful story. You know what I'm saying? So all these curses are going to come upon these devils. And here is why you can't go against what we're saying, man. Verse 68, the curses. If you don't hearken, which Esau does not hearken, he's disobedient. Deuteronomy 28 and 68, and the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you or save you, deliver you. So there it is right there. That had to happen to the Israelites, and it says both have to happen, the curse and the blessing in Deuteronomy the 30th chapter, you know. And we read in the 7th verse of Deuteronomy 30 that all the curses were going to be put on our enemies. So Esau has to get this, man. You know what I'm saying? So the Lord said he was going to they're going to be bondmen and bondwomen. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. Didn't we have to go through it? We had to go through it. So what did the Lord say? Let's get this real quick in Jeremiah 49 and 12. This is Jeremiah 49 and 12. And it reads, for thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai power, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken, which is talking about the Israelites. And that cup represents slavery, destruction, death, double straits, nothing good, bro. So they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken, the Israelites, man. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Who is that he? Well, when you read up, let's go up to verse 7 real quick. It says, prophecy against Edom. Verse 7 says it right there concerning Edom. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, of armies, man. You know what I'm saying? So it's talking to these Edomites, man. When you jump down to verse 12. Art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished, you Edomites? Thou shalt not go unpunished. There is the answer to it. But thou shalt surely drink of it. So that cup that slavery, the double straights, the death, the destruction, everything bad is coming to you devils, man, including that captivity. That's slavery. We just read it in the curses in Deuteronomy 28 and 68, which the Lord said in Deuteronomy 30 and 7 he was going to put on our enemies, which our prime enemy, the main enemy, is the Edomites. Of course, all 17 nations outside of the nation of Israel are our enemies, but primarily these Edomites, man, these devils, the so-called self-proclaimed white man, woman, and child. So, hey, bro, it's written, bro. It's got to happen, man. You know? So when you read in Jeremiah 30 and 16, what does it say? It says, therefore Jeremiah 30 and 16, therefore all they that devoured thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. So all these nations are going into captivity, but primarily you devils. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all they, Salaki, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. Because he's getting ready, like he said in this next verse, for I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, said the Lord Yahweh Shah, because they call thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. So the Lord is about to heal his nation, and in that healing, and part of that healing is getting back the lick that got put on them, man. You know, you got your lick, so now it's time for us to get our lick. You know what I'm saying? You going into slavery. All them that preyed upon us is going to become a prey, man. All nations. You know, as a matter of fact, real quick, what's that one? What nation have not begotten of her spoils? I believe that's in second Maccabees or first? Second Maccabees 2 and 10 or first Maccabees? Let me see. Bear with me real quick. Must be first. Well, it is first. Must be to it. This is first Maccabees 2 and 10. What nation had not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? So all nations have. So all nations are going to become that prey, that the spoil.